everyone. Nice to see our ambassadors in the audience there, and our diehards. Great to see you all. See plenty of familiar faces. And see Repost. Hello, back to you. Repost has been producing some wonderful content. If you are considering dipping your toe into farming, Repost has produced some really great videos. I believe they're linked in his profile. You can find his YouTube channel.
Alrighty. And looks like the recording is finally live, so we should be good to move forward there. Appreciate your patience, everybody. Welcome, as always, to our farmer office hours. As you all know, probably we've been doing weekly events, and this week we'll be diving into the farming side of things. As always, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules today to join us. We're always here to answer questions, give you some insights into the latest developments about farming here at Subspace. And being that this is our last farmer office hours for the entire year, we'll also have a little bit of a yearly review about what we've accomplished so far, largely in part with the help of all of you. Today on stage, obviously, we have me. My name is Justin. I'm the Community Support Manager here at Subspace. And we have Jim, our Ecosystem Team Lead, as well joining us. How's it going, Jim?
Well, thank you, Justin. Yeah, great to be here. Always enjoy farmer office hours. Bring us your poorly nodes, you're sick and you're needy, and this is the place to be if you've got some questions about farming, of course.
Definitely.
Thanks, Justin.
And as always, we will have a Q&A session to wrap this event up. So if you do have any questions about farming, about Subspace in general, or any of the other events that we've been pushing the past few months, feel free to throw your questions into the chat. We'll mark it with a little question mark, which means we've seen it, and that we'll hop onto it once we get to our Q&A session at the end. So feel free to throw those in the chat, or if you'd prefer to ask your questions in person, you can always raise your hand, and we'll work through the raised hand queue if that is applicable at that time. Additionally, always keep your eyes out on Telegram, Discord, and Twitter, and our forums, as there's a consistent stream of announcements going out, especially as we rapidly approach mainnet sooner and sooner. Beyond that, I'll hand it over to Jim, and he'll give us some highlights on the status of Gemini 3F and how the network's looking currently.
Yeah, Gemini 3G, just in case anyone's wondering if they're in the wrong place.
I guess I'm in the wrong place today.
Okay. Yeah, so let's have a quick rundown on the stats. So the state of Gemini 3G, we currently have 9,363 nodes online, which is amazing. This actually represents us growing in node count by over 1,000 in the last 10 days, I want to say, possibly even less. Which is really great. We're quite a way into the incentivized testnet now. I believe today is 15 weeks into what we estimate will be a 24-week incentivized testnet. So to see that growth is really great, and we love seeing that. We have hit 7,432 terabytes, so we are approaching 7.5 petabytes. Again, absolutely great statistics to see. And when we talk about the space pledged, what we are talking about there, of course, are sectors which are active. So that means that it's not just space pledged, it's actually plotted space, and it doesn't require a replot. I know that that's a topic of constant discussion amongst our farmers. So yeah, approaching 7.5 petabytes, absolutely wonderful. Our latest version is December the 18th 2. So the tag is actually DEC-18-2. The original December the 18th release was unfortunately built from the wrong branch, which means it's not compatible with 3G. I know that we had a little misstep there with, and some of the community members were quick to flag, which we really appreciate, which meant we produced a second build. And as we always like to do on farmer office hours, I'm going to drop the link in the chat to our wallets ordered by their balance. So our whale watch, if you like. So I've actually taken us to page 1 there because so previously we've been pasting a link which takes us directly to page 2, but of course we've got some huge whales out there that have broken into our page 1. So one thing to note on page 1, of course, is that where you see a value in locked TSSC, they are all accounts that the devs use for testing. So the balances there are added to the account at Genesis. They are not participating in incentivized testnet, so there's no need to feel inadequate when seeing those huge balances. But I can see that in the lead, we have an account which has managed to gather 36,000 TSSC, which is just amazing, and closely followed by a wallet which has 34,600. And then in third place, we have a wallet with 32,000, just over. So yeah, that's our whale watch. Always interesting to see kind of where we stand. And yeah, if any of our whales ever want to come on to Farmer Office Hours and give us a rundown on how they're achieving these frankly astonishing numbers, we'd be very happy to have you. Which is actually in a standing order. If anybody wants to come up on stage and talk to us about farming, then we'd love to have you on. I just noticed Punky's getting background music. Can we just get a thumbs up in the chat that you can hear us okay, guys? Okay, excellent. So confirmation that our sound is coming through. Okay, cheers, guys. Yeah, so and with that rundown of the current stats and status of the network, I'm going to hand over to Justin, who's going to talk about the latest version and some hot topics.
Definitely, like you mentioned, Jim, it's great to see all of the support as always. With the December 18th release, as Jim mentioned, it's important to make sure you're on that -2 version, as the initial version was a little bit of a misstep there. Overall, though, like we've seen with the last few releases, December 18th isn't too much of a massive fix. Overall, there was just some improvements and optimizations in this one. There was an update to only process canonical consensus blocks by operators. So this helps decrease the computation requirements and avoiding crashes, obviously, as well on the operator side of things. Ultimately, what they were doing prior was operators were processing all blocks, even non-canonical chain blocks. There's obviously some various different issues that could arise from that, whether it be intentional attacks by purposely doing bad blocks or things along those lines. But luckily, that's been resolved, so operators should see a little bit of a decrease in the computation requirements for any of you who may be running operators. Additionally, we added a farmer lock feature, which I will touch more on here in just a moment as far as repercussions. But ultimately, this is a lock feature to prevent an accidental use of the same farmer. What we'll see in some cases, for those of you who've been here a long time, you'll know that if you run the same plot on 2 farmers, it results in your plot being banned and burnt. So then you have to replot, and obviously it can be quite the headache. That is a technical requirement to prevent certain different types of attacks that can be performed on proof of archival storage. But it looks like in this case, we had some farmers who maybe had a shortcut or things like that, so they were doing this unintentionally. So we just added a little bit of a lock in there so that the software will kind of give you that, hey, you're trying to start a farmer on 2 plots, this could be problematic. Rather that way you get at least a warning instead of, boom, 1 accident and your plots are burned. So I think that's definitely a good, user-facing improvement there. That's mostly of the major fixes. There were some other minor, internal optimizations and improvements like most of our releases, but those are going to be the 2 major things that you're going to face as far as, the effects they may have on you as a farmer. Now on to hot topics. As I mentioned, with the lock feature that was added in the latest release, while this is, to improve your user experience, there is a small bug that's popping up on the Windows side of things. Basically, what's occurring is it's causing a double lock on the farmer. So you may, if you run this latest version, you may get an error that's something along the lines of the process cannot access the file because another process has locked a portion of the file, OS error 33. Most people will experience this on Windows, but definitely if you see it on Linux, Mac OS, let us know. Ultimately, there's no major issue, like you're going to have to redo your plot or anything like that. All you'll have to do for the temporary workaround is add the --no-info flag to your farmer, and you will no longer face that error. And as far as we've been able to test, the farmer will properly run in the background. Obviously, it's not ideal. This is just a temporary workaround, and the development team is already working on another release to fix this issue. But at least that --no-info will help you get past it for now if it does pop up for you. Additionally, we've seen a couple other little errors. One that's been pretty common that we've seen is failed to generate fraud proof, error at calling runtime API called for an unknown block that the state is already discarded for. This is an error that can pop up during the syncing process. For the time being, we do not have a fix, but I am happy to report that Ved and Ning, two of our amazing developers from the development team, are actively looking into this issue. So if you do have that one pop up, feel free to head over to our forums. You'll see there's a post already existing with a similar title, and add any context that you may have to that forum post. Definitely will help out Ved and Ning as they kind of troubleshoot and actively investigate this issue. Beyond that, there is another one that we saw a couple users report that I just wanted to mention. This kind of goes back to the importance of updating. As I know it can be frustrating with how many versions we've been releasing lately, but it is absolutely vital as previous versions can face various different kinds of errors. One that we're seeing on the December 15 release is database error too many sibling blocks. So if you see that issue pop up, it is an indicator that you're still on the December 15th release, which you will need to upgrade to the December 18-2 version to resolve that error. Once again, the importance of updates on these ones, especially in a decentralized network like this. There is a world where if a certain percentage of users don't update, it could cause issues and even potentially bring down the network. So that's why we've been so pushy about everyone updating lately. I hope you do forgive us, but it comes from a good place in trying to ensure that the network stays up and running. And beyond that, I think we'll hand it over to Jim, who's going to dive into Space Acres for us, which is a new product that Nazar actually has been working on, and we think we released it and started talking about it last week. Go ahead, Jim.
Thanks, Justin. We see your questions, Trader Short and Nitend. We'll tackle those in the Q&A, but please do keep the question coming, guys. Okay, so Space Acres, yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure that everyone here understands how busy Nazar is working on the protocol, but in his extremely limited free time, he's been working on an application called Space Acres. We actually introduced it last week on a special edition developer office hours, so I'm not going to dive too deeply into what it is and how it works, but essentially, Space Acres, using Nazar's phrasing, is an opinionated, unofficial GUI application for farming on Subspace network. So we've had feedback, we've seen feedback from the community about will we resurrect the Subspace desktop project. Certainly it's something that I remember running back in the day. Unfortunately, the state of the Subspace desktop application would mean really it would require a complete rewrite to kind of bring it up to scratch for 3G and onwards. So instead, Nazar has produced Space Acres. It is unofficial. And although Nazar is working on it, it's not officially, what unofficial means it's not officially supported. So you may not get the level of support that you're used to for Pulsar and Advanced CLI, for example. However, Nazar is being very active. And we are, of course, we've been running the contribution contest. We are hoping that we can start a community contribution flywheel, which is something that I will get onto in a moment, actually, because I just want to quickly explain. You can find it in the repository. There's, if you take a look at the link that I've posted in the chat, you'll be able to see there's a releases section on the right-hand side. The latest version is 0.0.9. And if you download the MSI file, you will be able to install Space Acres as you would any regular application. I've been using it on Windows. It's working absolutely wonderfully. I would say that the performance is very similar to the advanced CLI. So you expect that there's quite a lot of resource usage during syncing and plotting. But once you're plotted and you're farming, it's very similar to my advanced CLI Windows node. Installation is very straightforward. I believe that we are advising to that users shut down the existing shut down Space Acres and then reinstall. I think there might be a fix coming for that if there isn't already. But essentially the installer will remove the old version and replace it with the new version. So, as I mentioned, there's a contribution contest, which I am just going to drop a link in the chat. I see the questions are rolling in, yeah, some hot topics. So what's the contribution contest? Essentially, I would like to really demonstrate how committed we are to starting this contribution initiative. So we actually have up to $1,000 a month available for developers who submit merged PRs to a number of repositories. The main one that we're keen to see contributions to, of course, is Space Acres, but you can also be rewarded for submissions to, merged PRs submitted to our monorepo, which is where the main code base for Subspace lives. And also, now let's just check. Yes, okay. So Pulsar, of course. So we've got our kind of advanced CLI really, and then and the protocol in the monorepo. Then we've got Pulsar, which is a friendlier way to run from the CLI, and then we've got Space Acres, which I would say is our friendliest way if you're on a Windows or Mac or Linux. Actually, I don't think we have the Mac packaging up yet. Again, you know, that's something we have an issue open. We'd be really keen to see people contribute with a Mac OS packaging. I know that Emil's been looking at that internally. So yeah, Space Acres, please do use it. There's been some great feedback in the feedback channel here in Discord. And one of the recurring questions we see is, how do I do X on Space Acres? So you have to remember that Space Acres is still a very early alpha software. We know it's lacking vital features, and we're expecting there will be bugs. So please feel free to report them, report bugs or request features in the feedback channel on Discord, or if you are comfortable, raise an issue in GitHub, or if you're even more comfortable, please do submit a pull request with fixes for bugs and code changes for new features. So yeah, Space Acres. Make sure, just you know, it's worth checking out, guys. I did see a comment from Repost that he's finding it a great way to get into farming. Okay, I saw that there's a question here. CI Point is asking, will there be 3H? And Crypto Addict is asking, when next reset, after which block? So I want to talk a little bit about our plans on that, and I'm going to drop this link again into the chat here. So we've just released a blog post, which is all about our phase 3 of incentivized testnet. So obviously we're in phase 3 of stake wars as well, but this is phase 3 of the incentivized testnet, which we kicked off with the when Subspace blog post. If you take a look there, that's an even higher level, further looking explanation of our plans towards mainnet. So what's in this post that I've just dropped? So within it, we talk about the start of phase 3, which actually begins today. This doesn't mean we're having a network reset today, though. Instead, it means we will start testing the features we've planned for Gemini 3H network internally on what we call the DevNet. And to summarize the blog post, we will be testing additional fraud proofs, which will bring the next level of security to the network, and cross-domain messaging. Again, I'm summarizing. Please do read the blog post to get a more in-depth feel. And the team will be testing the performance of this new iteration of the protocol over the festive period. So what news on a network reset, Jim, as has been asked already? Assuming that everything goes as well as we hope it will, we will be shooting for a network reset on the 10th of January. This will entail ceasing incentivized testnet rewards on Gemini 3G and activating the Gemini 3H network in a way that makes sense for our farmers to migrate over as soon as possible. You may know I'm using slightly vague language here because there are exciting plans for this launch. We are aiming for it to be a useful dress rehearsal for mainnet. And maybe, you're hearing this here first, maybe even a test run of our exciting launch initiative, the Space Race, a mini space race. We will be releasing more detailed updates as we approach the time, which will confirm how things are going on DevNet and our readiness to deliver that exciting mini space race. At the same time as ending Gemini 3G, we will also be marking the final block for Stake Wars. Again, more detailed plans forthcoming, and I understand Emil is working on a roundup of the great success our incentivized staking competition has been, an unmitigated success so far. I'm probably going to jinx it by saying that early. So we had originally planned to run phase 3 of Stake Wars for 4 weeks, which would have put us finishing on the 3rd of January, according to our initial schedule, the one that I posted on the forum. Seems like all that time ago now. But as things have gone so well, we are considering the removal of the end game phase, as so far there haven't been any major issues that have required a halt or the requirement to add injury time to the match. So instead, we'd like to extend phase 3 by a week to ensure our operators and nominators have the maximum amount of time available as possible to demonstrate the wonderful level of decentralization we're seeing. We've currently got over 150 operators, over 700 nominators, and between them, they're staking well over 500,000 TSSC, which is just excellent. Really, round of applause to our community there. This is really wonderful engagement that we're seeing. Having said all that, don't forget, it's still a great time to jump into the incentivized testnet and Stake Wars. There's still plenty of time to make your mark and earn mainnet rewards from both initiatives. Rewards are expanded on and explained in detail on the forum. Essentially, the incentivized testnet pot grows continually, and we've got 0.6% available, split between nominators and operators on Stake Wars. Finally, a more complete picture will be coming from the team as we close in on next year, so keep an eye on our announcement channels here in Discord and over on the forum. I'm not sure if that's going to generate more questions than I've answered there, guys, so I'm going to hand over to Justin and have a scroll through the question. Actually, no, I'm not. Sorry, I was going to hand over to Justin. Okay, so I'm going to change tack slightly because hot off the press, fresh from the oven, there's been an update from the development team about a operator's V2 interface. Now I'm going to share my screen, guys. Let me see if I can do this without messing it up. Okay, can you see that, Justin? Is that coming out for you? Okay, splendid. So yes, operators V2 interface. So you may notice there's a slightly funky URL here. As I say, this is literally just hot off the press. Technically, we're still working on it, but I wanted to give you guys, our Farmer Office Hours attendees, early look at what we have planned. So products are essentially have a plan to have what we call Astral. It's been called the Block Explorer in the past. But as you can see in the title there, we call it Astral as being the one-stop shop for interaction with the chain. And we have a new tab here, which is Operators. And you can see that essentially you're going to have the same functionality that the staking interface has, but in Astral. Now, the idea is, of course, that we, as I mentioned, this is the one place to go. I would love to be able to show you this working, but I'm unable to connect a wallet. I'm not sure if that's my end. It could well be, maybe because I'm struggling to get the this website, the test website on Netlify, to be trusted by my wallet. But hopefully that makes sense. Obviously, this is a demonstration of our commitment to this being, us providing a unified and coherent experience for farmers, operators, nominators, and yeah. So hopefully this screen is making sense. You can see that we've got our operators, their IDs, their domains, their signing keys, all the good stuff that you would be interested in if you were considering nominating to them. And actually, while I'm here, I am going to take an even bigger risk. And I'm not sure if everyone's noticed this, but this is actually live on the main site at the moment. But there is actually an alternative to checking Subspace, Subscan, for our whales. This is, again, it's a work in progress. So please, forgive us our bugs and do report them, because we're interested to get any feedback. But yeah, essentially you can see the leaderboard here. So we have a farmers leaderboard, operators. One of the perennial questions we're seeing in the Stake Wars channels is, how can I see what rewards I've earned? And this is a great place to do that now in the operators leaderboard. The nominators leaderboard, I am going to take a chance and say that, well, we want your feedback. So I know that when Emil and I looked at this last, some of the figures weren't quite right. We're not sure if that was an indication that the indexer, which takes the information from the blockchain and puts it into a database, which is how we can get these snappy page responses. Obviously, we're not traversing the whole blockchain to get this data. Or there's a bug. It actually looks good to me. That's not that I'm surprised. I think potentially the bug has been squashed. So yeah, so two things to take away is that we're working on our operators experience, which we're calling the operators dashboard V2, and there are also leaderboards for our community to check their progress. Again, welcome any questions on any of that. Okay, I see Trader Shorts asking, where is the search box? Okay, so we're going to capture all these questions. Let me hand over to Justin. Justin, do you want to do the our farmer year wrap up? As Justin said, it's our last call, our last farmer office hours of the year. So we just wanted to kind of pull out some highlights, and then we're going to launch into Q&A.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you, Jim. I'm excited to see that operator dashboard come into fruition. I know it's definitely, the dot interface is, like James said, is a little clunky. So it's great to see it nice and smoothed up. But yes, as we stand, on this threshold of a new year, I've been looking back with a great sense of pride and gratitude on the monumental journey that Subspace Network has made in 2023. This year hasn't just been about progress. It's been a testament to groundbreaking innovation from our research team, relentless dedication of our development team, and of course, a community spirit that defies all expectations that I could imagine from our amazing community members like yourselves who are joining us here today and who are always present in Discord, on the forums, on Twitter, in Telegram, on GitHub, and our various different other locations online, always supporting, testing our software, and giving us great feedback. Gemini 3 has officially been running for over a full year at this point. We've had pretty astounding progress, in my opinion, as far as Gemini 3 has gone. We've had it was ultimately nothing short of extraordinary. From the launch of Gemini 3A all the way to Gemini 3G, we haven't just released versions. Our development team has truly hit new strides in this year. Overall, I was counting them up earlier. Our development team's done over 61 full latest releases. It's 92 if you include snapshots, which averages out to about 5 to 7 new releases every single month for the entirety of the year, which is just amazing to see. And I know that when they are very tired, but also have been working at better paces than we've seen up until this point. Additionally, each one of those versions brought something unique to the table, whether it be implementing our new dilithium consensus, pioneering our decentralized storage network, our DSN, all the way to more intricate things like erasure coding. We've even seen releases on our decoupled execution, where we launched our Nova EVM, which has marked a huge leap into getting Subspace closer to where I will be as far as our mainnet feature completeness goes. And this isn't even to mention all of the hundreds and probably thousands of bugs and optimizations that the entirety of the development team has been implementing into the network throughout the entire year. Ultimately, all of these improvements and this hard work has set us up to not just ensure our network is robust, but resilient and continues to be forward-thinking. As we've always mentioned, that's one of our biggest priorities here at Subspace. Obviously, while our development team has done great work and our research team has done great work, the community has been the heart of our success through this entire year. I think Stake Wars is a great example of that. It hasn't just been an event, it's been a celebration of collaboration and engagement. We've been seeing operators and nominators come together to stake their TSSE, and it's been a powerful reminder of the power of community and just how exciting the Subspace network will be once we reach mainnet. Overall, you all as a community have been the key role for this year and our success. These record-breaking achievements are not just ours, they are yours. Every test you ran, every issue you reported, every piece of feedback you provided has been an instrumental building block in building the Subspace network to where it is today and where we hope to bring it next year. Thank you all for your unwavering support and continuous active participation in being the lifeblood of the Subspace network. Overall, it's been a great year, but while 2023 was great, 2024 will be even better. As you all know, we will be approaching mainnet and all of the exciting things that come with that, and the even more exciting things that come afterwards once we breach into stardom with the Subspace network. While it's been a great year, I wanted to make sure to say thank you to all of you for your continued help.
Thanks, Justin. And I just want to echo all of those sentiments. You guys, the community, Justin described you as our lifeblood. You absolutely are. It's why we do what we do, and your feedback is invaluable and excellent, and we really appreciate your participation. I know that Justin just talked about mainnet, so in case anyone hasn't seen it, I'm going to drop the when Subspace blog post into the chat there, which gives you that kind of higher overview of our plans, and hopefully gives people a feel for why we're iterating 3F, 3G, 3H, and yeah, hopefully it puts things into context for you. Blog posts, yeah, I probably won't hear the end of this for a while now. Okay, so we've kind of done our set pieces, guys. We've got a nice chunk of time left to take Q&A from the audience. So I'm going to scroll up, and Justin, feel free to jump in on any you've picked out, but I'm going to try and hit them from the top down, all the question marks. So Trader Short is asking. He's popped an error message. Actually, it's a warn message. So into the chat, it's Hickory Proto X for DNS exchange failed to associate send message response to the sender. Um, yes, Trader Short. I have actually seen similar messages myself. My understanding is that these can be safely be ignored. They are only warn level messages, but they can be ignored. They have not certainly not affected my farming when I've seen them. Hopefully that explains things. Let me know if your experience is contrary to that advice. And I'm just going to take Litend one's question because it's related to the flag that I've put in the chat there. So we're being asked, does the -- no - info flag, does that just suppress the error message? Is it okay to farm with or without it? So I've actually been running this Litend. The exact behavior is that, I mean, and feel free to experiment yourself. If you run without it, what you'll see is there's an error message that comes up immediately because the software is trying to get a lock on the farm that it already has. So what happens is it can't report on. You've probably noticed when you start your farm, it'll give you some stats about your plot's public key and its size and the information there. So if you run with no info, it doesn't read the plot to get that information. So you won't see that message, which you normally do, and you won't see your replotting messages either. But I've been running it for a few hours with the flag now, and I'm seeing a healthy number of successfully signed reward hash messages, which I know is what we all crave. To answer your question, is it okay to farm with or without it? You won't be able to farm without it on December 18.2, which we do advise upgrading to, but you won't see the plotting progress on your farm if you do run with it. So let me know if you have any follow-up questions, Litend. Thank you.
Awesome. And we have James who asked, how will you guys make it interesting for smaller farmers to keep farming after going to mainnet? So this is a bit of a multifaceted question. Obviously, at a certain extent, economies of scale, large, massive farmers will always have certain advantages when it comes to their farming. But there have been a couple things that we've done to try and improve farming for small farmers. So one, this is one of the reasons that pushed us to SSDs. What most laptops these days, any modern laptop that's been bought probably within, I'd say, the last 5 to 7 years, will have an SSD. Additionally, it's a little bit harder to get SSDs in large and massive quantities as it is hard drives. So this is one of those things that will help the smaller guy a little bit. Additionally, we've included, we have, obviously the person who wins the block, the farmer who wins the block. We also have the voting side of things. So essentially what voting is when you're proposing a block, you have a very specific challenge window and you have to get as close to that as possible. First one who gets the answer wins. What voting is basically we widen that challenge window. So instead of being like 99% accurate, you can be 90% accurate. And as long as you're within that window, you'll still get some credit for basically pointing the network in the right direction. So voting was implemented mostly to help with small farmers who may not be able to win a block, but it can at least win a couple of votes and start getting TSSC. Additionally, something else that's really nice about the Subspace network that you may not see in most other networks that you'd be mining or farming or validating on, in which case we have a hardware-based consensus that allows you to win tokens, but we also have staking. So we kind of get the best of both worlds of like the Bitcoin versus Ethereum debate. You can get that TSSC permissionless. You don't have to buy it from an exchange or anything like that. You can win a few on your farmer, even a small one, and then you can stake that. So obviously staking will improve your rewards as well, because then you're kind of compounding those TSSC, or in mainnet I should say, the SSC that you've already won. Obviously this is a forever evolving equation, and we do have some optimizations down the line that we plan to implement to help improve smaller farmers as well. But it's kind of a moving target, so we'll have to see how things evolve in the real long term. But that is one of our biggest priorities, is ensuring that small farmers are able to farm on the network and remain in a, I wouldn't say profitable, but in a sustainable way that can ensure that we don't become overly centralized in certain different aspects.
Thanks, Justin. And that's a great question, James. Yeah, so I think the big takeaways there, of course, are that farming will always have this very low barrier to entry. We pride ourselves on that. You don't need to buy a bunch of coins to participate. The idea is that you just rock up with your existing hardware and start farming. And Justin's great explanation there about block and vote rewards. So you don't have to hit the solution. So other protocols that you may have seen, other storage protocols that you may have seen, the chance of winning a block makes it kind of really, you may be waiting for quite some time unless you've got like a data center's worth of resource to throw at the problem. And that's something that we particularly, we're particularly cognizant of that fact. And actually the number of vote rewards per block is something that's adjustable, may even be adjustable by governance much further down the line. So yeah, we want to make sure that, if you participate, then you get a bite of the cherry. So hopefully that makes sense, James. I'm going to back up a couple because I see Crypto Addict. Oh, okay. So I did answer these. Sorry. Crypto Addict and CI Point asking about when next reset and will there be a 3H. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, there will be a 3H. It's coming to DevNet very soon, and there will be some more information. When next reset, Crypto Addicts, as I mentioned earlier, we're shooting for January the 10th at the moment. Okay. Irenus, does it require a lot of network resources to farm? I guess that's a subjective question. If you're on dial-up, you might struggle, Irenus, but I've got a very modest connection, and I've got a few farmers. What have I got? 3 farmers running on a kind of on a regular. I think I'm on a 140 megabit connection here, and I see that where people do tend to struggle is with the number of connections. So we have heard, or we have had feedback that certain routers that maybe your ISP provides can struggle to handle the number of connections. But the actual bandwidth used is pretty modest. I'm talking to you now while I'm farming, so I don't see. I mean, again, it's subjective. But yeah, it's not outrageous. You don't need a data center. You don't even really need you don't need a gigabit. You can certainly use probably what you've got run to your house already.
I will caveat that with, while up and download speeds aren't too high demand, you can. I think we've seen people with like 10, maybe 5 megabit uploads that have been able to farm. If you have a metered bandwidth connection, this is most typically seen in LTE hotspots, these kinds of things. Some ISPs do limit the amount of bandwidth that can actually flow through on a monthly basis. That will be the biggest thing that will hold you back as far as network requirements go. So, if you have a network plan that says you can't use a gigabyte of bandwidth over a course of a month or something like that, that's where you might have some issues. As obviously downloading the plot it can be terabytes of data depending on the size of your plot, but also replotting and keeping that up to date and things like that can take up not a huge amount, but it can be a larger amount if you're on a metered connection like that. Just something to keep in mind depending on how you're connecting to your internet.
Thanks, Justin. And scrolling through the chat here, I can see that CI Point has mentioned 10 megabit up down should be enough for a couple of terabytes. And really, that is one of the great strengths of our project is if you tune into our farmer chat channel, for example, you'll hear about real life experiences So thanks, the iPoint, for highlighting that. Um, and I just I can see our feedback. Where is search box? This is so freaking needed. So lovely feedback, thank you. I'm getting a feel you might want a search box here, guys. And Trader Short, I see your image. I wonder if I could just submit that to GitHub as an issue. So thank you for taking the initiative on designing that out for us. Um, okay. Wesel, any update on GPU plotting? It's hard to plan on what is the best hardware to use without know if GPU plotting will be available prior to mainnet release. Um, it's something that's being discussed internally, Wesel. I'm afraid I don't have anything firm to give you at the moment. You can expect that there will be a lot of fanfare from us when we have something that we can deliver to you. But we do appreciate that. Sure, this is something that you you want to plan. You want to know what resource you're going to throw at the project for mainnet. We are aware of that, and we will be giving you updates as soon as we have them. Trader Short, I've noticed that in the past 3 months, everyone has been exceptionally active. The developments have been rapid and impressive. I have a very positive outlook for 2024. Thanks, Trader Short. That is something that we've noticed as well. Not just the fact that we've managed to gain an extra 1,000 nodes, but our Discord is buzzing. The forum is also getting lots of posts. And we agree. It's a really exciting time for the project. 2024 is going to be so bright, we're going to have to wear sunglasses, I think. But we appreciate the recognition, Trader Short. Thank you. Do we have any other questions, Justin?
Capybara asked, NAS, question mark? I think he's asking about network attached storage. I don't know what his question is. If you can use NASs or not, Capybara. I haven't tested that personally. I know a couple people have tested where the node is on a separate computer than the farmer, and in most cases they've been able to get that work. But I don't know if anyone's tested with a direct, run-of-the-mill NAS just yet. In theory, it definitely should be doable. Probably we'll have to use the advanced CLI and dive into the mud a little bit on the configuration side. But beyond that, it should work, assuming the storage devices are SSDs, and that the latency connection is low enough as well. Another one we have is Inotic. Also, maybe operator efficiency can be added to the leaderboard, like operator rewards / summary operator stake. Looks like that's more feedback for the operator dashboard for you to feedback to Natasha there, Jim.
I've captured that, and that's actually something that I've talked about internally as well. Is how well does the operator do with the stake that they have allocated? A great indicator. You're absolutely right. So we can talk about it would be a function of uptime and are they keeping up with blocks. It's a great insight, and I have taken away the feedback on leaderboard. I've got some notes going on the side here that I will feed back to Natasha and the product guys. Just on NAS as well, Capybara, my main concern would be around the latency you're going to introduce. We very recently, someone in the community has been talking about, I want to try and plot across a network drive. So unfortunately, I don't have a bunch of 10 gigabit cards available to me. But I would be really interested to hear if anyone can get it to work. Because you're talking about even a gigabit network, I don't think it's going to perform quite as well as your local PCIe lanes or your local SATA connection. So I think that would be my main concern. I haven't heard of anyone being able to really fly with network attached storage, but I would be very happy to be corrected if someone else is able to confirm that they've managed to get it work. to work? I see Punky. This is a great question as well. Will operators be able to add their handles so we don't have to go by their IDs? Again, this is something that I've thought about myself. So absolutely, I'm going to add that to feedback. So I believe that that is a slightly bigger lift because what we'd actually need to do is change the protocol. So where you register, we need to store an extra bit of information on chain with your name. But yeah, I'd like to see name, website, maybe a few other attributes stored along with the operator so people can build dashboards that really give you a feel for who the operator is. So again, I'm going to take that back. Thank you, Punky.
Alrighty, another one. I think the next one I've seen is from Serial Plotter. That's a funny name there. Hello, guys. Will the session be recorded? It's difficult to take care of my 8-month-old baby and focus at the same time. I definitely understand your frustration there, Serial. Yes, we do have a recording of this one. It will be going up here shortly after the event. We'll make sure to send out a tweet and an announcement here in Discord for y'all once that's available.
Yeah, absolutely. Wesel makes the observation, just speaking to the earlier point about bandwidth. I feel like having a decent router is more important than a super fast internet connection. I certainly concur, Wesel. Yeah, I've got probably what you class as a prosumer router with a modest connection, and I'm not having any problem. Jeremy's confirming that the search box is on the list. Should be coming soon. Excellent.
One question we did accidentally skip was if operators will be able to add their IDs, like their handles, rather. Kind of like an ENS kind of thing.
Yeah, so I mentioned, sorry if I wasn't clear, but so I feel like we should try and capture a few additional attributes. I mean, we've got a choice. We can either store that information on chain or off chain. It's probably a debate that I can get into with Jeremy or Ning or Ved about polluting their lovely pure chain with a bunch of kind of side information. So yeah, we need to have a think about that. Certainly, if we're not going to store it on chain, then I see there's an opportunity there for someone, either us or the community, to build a dashboard. I see it in many other projects where you can capture this additional information about the participants in the protocol and really enrich users' experience. It's a great way to get yourself a name, of course, if you're planning on being a long-term operator, for example. Okay, Wesel's making another observation. Some people want to use a NAS because they have a RAID array. The problem is they're usually hard drives as opposed to SSD, so spinning Rust. You can put as many as you want in that RAID array, but you're not going to solve the random access speed problem. Absolutely right. If you've got enough spindles, obviously you can leverage the cache for writes, but it's the random reads that really are a sticking point. And random reads are fundamental to the way the protocol works. So yeah, spot on, Wesel. Punky's off to get his wallet out and buy a 10G NAS. Let us know how you get on. SSD NAS, Emil. I think they do exist. I know I was reading about a guy who bought an old server and put an NVMe backplane in it. So modest compute, but a really current NVMe backplane could be a way to go, something like that. Oh, Wesel's quite right. Expensive. Okay. Yeah, NASs don't tend to have super powerful CPUs, so you'd need your compute remote. Okay, well, wonderful insights, guys. And we are nearly at the hour. We'll give it like one more minute maybe just to see if we've got any more questions. But great session, guys.
Definitely. And thank you all for the amazing questions, as Jim mentioned. It's always great to have see lively discussion in these events, especially as we get closer and closer to what we're working on.
Okay, I think we're able to wrap up. Wesl's just said, I guess that depends on if they want to use the NAS as the farmer as well or remotely plot to the NAS from a different PC. I know a few people have experimented with farming and plotting to a remote drive and they had more success than I had expected. Okay, I'm interested in that, Wesel. Maybe we should dig that out of the archives. I wasn't aware that anyone had been able to get it to work
Looks like Punky's one of
very
the ones
well.
who's got it working.
Right, okay. Okay, maybe Punky's already got a 10 gig network. I'm jealous. Oh, okay, yeah, it's a 10 gig. So that is enough. That we can confirm that is enough. Okay. Um, I wonder. I wonder if 1 gig would work. I'm doubtful. 25 gigabit connection, Capybara. Office environments, 4K, 8K video editing. Okay, so I don't want you to get into trouble at work here, Capybara.
Don't use your work
But
machines to farm subspace.
Yeah, it used to be running Doom on the school network. Nowadays, it's using the work machines. No, don't. I'm not encouraging that at all. I'm not. Um, okay. Again, great insights. Thanks, everyone. Justin, did you want to do a little wrap up?
Yeah, of course. As always, thank you all for taking time out of your day to hang out with us today, and thank you all for the great questions and great discussion and feedback as well on the operator dashboard. As Jeremy and Jim mentioned, that feedback has been captured, so we hope to have hopefully a search bar and some of those other things added for you guys here in the coming days / weeks. As always, stay tuned for our upcoming events and upcoming updates. We still have Stake Wars going on, but as Jim mentioned, some things are coming here with Gemini 3H as well. And as always, we do have a multitude of various different events that you can contribute to. If you can translate, we have our translation guide on our documentation. If you're a programmer, we have various different kinds of contests and contributions that you can make, and even maybe win yourself some USDC, whether that be on our Docs contest or our newly announced contribution contest for Space Acres, Pulsar, Advanced CLI, and all those kinds of things as well. So if you've got the skills, we definitely are welcoming any contributions and are doing our best to ensure that you are rewarded for that time as well. As always, this has been Justin and Jim for the Farmer Office Hours, and we will all look forward to seeing you here next year. And I hope everyone has a happy new year and happy holidays as well, and stay safe.
Absolutely. If you have any follow-up questions, please do reach out in Discord as always. And if I don't speak to you before, have a great and happy holiday season, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.